And I was even getting ready to just go to the urgent care, and the thoughts were going through my mind. Well, what if this is it? What if I go to the urgent care and it's serious and then they admit me and that's the last time I see my family or they see me? Hey, this is Cameron. Welcome back to the Busy Gardener channel. I caught COVID. I'm going to tell you what happened. Let's get busy. Well, it happened. I'm in Southern California, and as you probably have heard, Southern California is just getting decimated with the COVID virus. My main 9-to-5 job is in nurse staffing and in senior care, and so we've seen just the hospitals be totally overwhelmed, running crazy. It's almost like wartime medicine in some ways. So I know it's hard when you hear so many things on the news, but kind of dealing with it first person, from a professional standpoint, it has gotten really crazy out there as far as that. So don't get into a car wreck or anything else. About 3 weeks ago on December 14th, I was feeling kind of tired. On the 16th, I had my mask on and I was at the post office, and all of a sudden I felt my breath be warm in my mask. You know what I'm saying? You breathe and you go, wow, that breath feels kind of warm. So I went and got a couple of thermometers just to double check, and sure enough, I had started to get a low-grade fever, and I thought, well, I got to quarantine. The next morning, I went and got a test. The test came back a couple days later positive for COVID, and so I spent the next week quarantining. And you know what? The actual symptoms of COVID itself were really mild. I didn't have a really serious fever. I didn't have any serious body aches. I didn't have a lot of the stuff that people are experiencing. I mean, I had some chills, I had some low-grade fever, but really wasn't even that uncomfortable. I mean, I had trouble focusing and I was kind of tired, but nothing too crazy. So I'm thinking, this is great. I'm one of those who got a mellow version of this thing until Christmas Eve. The day of Christmas Eve, which is I still had to quarantine, I think through the 26th was when I was going to need to, a minimum of when I was going to have to quarantine. Well, on Christmas Eve, my energy level was just shot. I found myself, when I took a deep breath, feeling pain in my chest. I found myself totally just lethargic and fatigued. I was sleeping like 2-3 hours in the middle of the day, which during the active infection time wasn't even a thing, but all of a sudden I found myself just dragging. Christmas Day, I sat out there for a bit. The kids opened some gifts, kind of distanced, and then was sleeping. And by Saturday, it was starting to get kind of scary. One of my great neighbors had got me one of those little pulse oximeters to see what my oxygen levels were, because that's really the telltale thing. I'm so grateful and fortunate to have my brother, who is an ICU and infectious disease doctor, and he's right in the middle of all of this stuff, treating people who are finding themselves in a bad situation. And he was really concerned about where my oxygen levels were. They were kind of down in the low 90s, and for somebody who's healthy without any history of lung issues or anything, low 90s is not good. And so we were keeping an eye on it. But for my brother, who's seeing the worst of the worst, for him to kind of lean in and get a little bit worried about this meant something. You know, I was talking to a friend and they said it's kind of like, you know, when you're on a plane and it's bouncing around and you think, okay, well, it's all right. But all of a sudden, if the stewardesses or the flight attendants start kind of looking at each other, you think, okay, well, maybe this isn't actually a good thing right now, because they've seen it. They know they know when to be concerned. And so, it turned out that Saturday evening, with the pressure on my chest, ended up, I couldn't even get a hold of our doctors. And so thankfully my brother was able to prescribe an antibiotic and a steroid. And the reason the steroid was okay, the steroid, and I'll tell you what the mechanism was that happened, that he told me why my body was doing this thing, even though I didn't have like an active COVID infection going on anymore. The steroid was there to kind of diminish the autoimmune response that was happening in my body as a response to the virus. So that Saturday was getting really scary. I found myself on hold with the advice nurse and thinking, my goodness, I thought like I was on my way out of this disease, and I hadn't hugged my kids in a week and a half, hadn't kissed my wife or hugged her in a week and a half. And I thought, man, if I just need to go get something more concrete, have somebody go take my vital signs and tell me what is my actual oxygen level. Is there something I should be worried about? And I was even getting ready to just go to the urgent care, and the thoughts were going through my mind. Well, what if this is it? What if I go to the urgent care and it's serious, and then they admit me, and that's the last time I see my family, or they see me? Just grappling with the reality of that, it's just such a weighty thing that you don't expect to be dealing with. I'm generally healthy, and here I was having some vital signs that were really concerning, and having to just grapple with stuff through the fog of not feeling well, the fog of the fatigue. And it felt really lonely. My wife, such a blessing, was taking care of me, giving me everything that I needed. But it really was an uncertain time, and really made me introspective. And I believe that I'm fine personally. I mean, as far as the state of my soul, I feel fine. I know God, and I know that He sees me, loves me, and walks with me, and has given me new life. But that doesn't change the pain. That doesn't change the trauma that would be experienced by my kids if this was it. And so it might feel a little melodramatic because I didn't end up getting hospitalized. I didn't, everything turned a corner once I got those steroids and antibiotics. But in that moment, especially that Saturday, the Saturday after Christmas, was really, really kind of a dark moment as far as weighing what was happening and the implications of that. And is this how my kids' story continues? None of us is promised tomorrow, and suffering is part of human life, but just out of care and love for them, it just was a really painful thing to experience emotionally and kind of have to walk through. So what happened? What happened was I got prescribed these steroids and prescribed these antibiotics that will wipe out any secondary infection if it's a bacterial thing, as well as what happens is, I guess, after the virus itself, according to my brother, after the virus itself has run its course, what happens is in some people, your body will create this inflammation and have this exaggerated autoimmune response in response to the virus. So all of a sudden the lungs start getting inflamed, and they start getting coated over with this stuff that prevents the oxygen exchange from happening as easily. And that's what is ending up putting people into such physical distress who would otherwise be healthy, is this weird autoimmune response in the lungs. And so what the steroids do is that they lower that effect. They kind of dampen the autoimmune response, so that way the body isn't trying so hard to kind of create an issue for itself. And so the first day I took those things was that Saturday. Sunday morning, I had no more fever. I felt a little bit better, but still had some tightness in the chest. I had then on on Monday rather, was a little bit better. Tuesday, I had no tightness in the chest. And so I was really just kind of taking it easy that whole week, still fatigued, but not as bad. I was able to get up and walk around, and it was really starting to turn a corner. So I took my 10 days of steroids, and even though it was making sleep kind of weird, all of those vital signs were good. My oxygen went back up pretty quickly after I started that. Here I am on the other end of it, a week and a half into January. So almost 3.5, 4 weeks after the first onset of symptoms. One of the weirdest things that has happened as a result of this COVID disease for me has been to lose 75% of my taste of tart things. So I haven't lost all of my taste, but with things that are tart, it has wiped out probably 75% of it, which you think, okay, well, does that make a difference? And it absolutely does, because things that you're used to tasting a certain way, it's not like they taste like nothing. It's just that strange parts of the flavor profile come through while other parts of that profile are absent. So when I take a bite of my a mandarin over there, usually you've got this acid and the sweet, and all I really taste is the sweet and then some bitter kind of pulpishness. And so it doesn't have any of those bright flavors have been missing. And so that's a really weird thing. Coffee has tasted weird. Toothpaste tastes weird. Anything that is tart at all, anything with like acidic stuff in it has been really rolled off. My brother made lemonade. It tasted like, I don't even know what, like eating baking soda or something. So it's kind of been a strange thing. It has given me an opportunity though to revisit eating habits though, and things that have just been habitual snacking and stuff. Now it's like not as appetizing. And so that's given me kind of a reset in some ways. But one thing that is kind of funny is that when I think of something that I've tasted before, like if you showed me a picture of an orange and I smelled it, although my smell's a little bit off too, if I smelled it, my brain would make my mouth water because of what my memory says that it should taste like. But then I take a bite of it and it doesn't taste like my memory tells me that it should. It's a very strange thing. I'm really looking forward to this being done. But in the time being, that's something that's kind of a lingering effect of this thing. Yeah, I made guacamole. And I tasted it and I was like, I don't have any idea if this is good or not. I had to have my wife say, I'm like, do I put more lime in this or what? It just tasted so weird. I'm just grateful for my family, grateful for health, grateful for a turnaround, because this isn't the situation that a lot of people are experiencing. And it's in a lot of respects, if you know somebody who's working in the healthcare sphere, give them a hug, send them a note, thank them. They're really seeing a lot of difficult things right now, and they're having to be family for people who don't have family around in their last moments. And they're having to, where there would normally be this emotional distance that healthcare professionals would have. They come in, they do the treatment, they're very caring, very loving, but then they go on and let the family do all of the care stuff. Well, family isn't able to go do that in the hospitals. So if you know anybody who's working in, especially the hospital setting, reach out to them, just shoot them a note of encouragement, get them a meal or something. They're really working hard and they're really bearing a lot of the emotional weight of this in addition to the actual work itself. So I'm so grateful to you. Frankly, this channel was the last thing on my mind. I love doing this and being part of this with you, but on the hierarchy of things, family and those bigger questions are definitely the things that are at the front of my mind. But I am back and I'm so glad to be out here. One of the things I've enjoyed about being out here is just being able to walk around and enjoy and kind of just take in the orchard. It's been a real blessing to be able to get outside and be back up here for that. Something that was such a huge blessing during the time where our whole family was really quarantined was just the outpouring of love and support from friends, from family, from our church community. It seems like almost most days we had a meal provided for us. And that was such a blessing. There's a thing where, you want to be able to be self-sufficient and on your own. But there's a real blessing in being able to receive a gift, and you actually give somebody else the gift of receiving their kindness. And so if you're somebody who is reluctant to receive help or a gift, just remember, you're actually doing that person a favor by receiving their gift because they're wanting to bless you, and it gives you an opportunity, gives them an opportunity to have exercised that muscle. We need more of that. Let's encourage it. Appreciate the care and concern that you guys had shared on Instagram and when I posted something earlier in the community part of this YouTube. So that's what's going on. If there's any way that we can help or offer an encouragement to you, just know that we're available. You can catch me on Instagram. We can connect there. Put something down in the comments. This is crazy. I'm glad that it's done. So whether you've got one person in your life that you love a whole lot or 500, till next time, reach out to them. Stay busy.